Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about the question, should the Tampa Bay Buccaneers potentially try and trade for Jets safety Jamal Adams? So guys, without further ado, let's talk about this. Now, I did a live stream earlier today where this very question was asked to me. Now, I knew a little bit about this situation from yesterday where it had came out that Jamal Adams had officially requested a trade, and he gave a list of about 5 or 6 teams that he was interested in. I believe he was interested in the Dallas Cowboys, the Baltimore Ravens, the Houston Texans, and maybe 2 or 3 other teams, and the Buccaneers were not on that list as of yesterday. So I thought, okay, the Buccaneers aren't on Jamal Adams' list. Cool, I don't have to worry about that. But 5 minutes before I started my live stream today, the news had come out that Jamal Adams, according to Ryan Clark, reporting this, that Jamal Adams had added the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to his list as well. He is very interested for playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He would love to play for them and rejoin some of his old coaches, and we will talk about that. So, first thing I want to say is that people are very divided on this. There are some people who are saying that obviously, there's no way we can trade for Jamal Adams, and there's some people who are saying, well, we technically could, so why don't we just go ahead and try? So I'm going to be doing both sides of the argument here, and then I'm going to be giving my final verdict, I guess you could say, at the end of the video. So the first side I want to talk about is why, yes, you could potentially trade for Jamal Adams, and the reasons why this could be a pretty darn good idea. So the first thing that a lot of people are going to point to is that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are point blank in win now mode. That's just flat out what they are. They have Rob Gronkowski and Tom Brady on their team. Yeah, they're in win now mode, and you can make the argument of, hey, let's just do whatever we can to win some games, whatever the price tag is. Let's go out there and let's go get a guy like Jamal Adams who could be phenomenal for this defense. That is the first point of an argument that you could make by saying, yes, let's trade for Jamal Adams. So yes, the Buccaneers are 100% in win now mode. They have 2 years with Tom Brady, and you know that they are going to be doing everything they can in these next 2 years to try and go and win a freaking Super Bowl, okay? That's what they're trying to do at the end of the day. So yes, the Buccaneers are in win now mode, and yes, in terms of being in win now mode, you want to get some of the best players that you can get. We saw the Cleveland Browns do it, I believe either last year or the year before that, when they went out and got a guy like Odell Beckham Jr., and I think they got Olivier Vernon as well. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's either they got Olivier Vernon or they gave away Olivier Vernon. I think they got Olivier Vernon, though. So, yeah, the point I'm trying to make is the Cleveland Browns did it a couple of years ago by getting 2 phenomenal players in Olivier Vernon and Odell Beckham Jr. The Buccaneers could hypothetically do a similar thing by going out and trading for Rob Gronkowski and then also trading for Jamal Adams as well. The second point that a lot of people are going to make, which again is a very, very fair point, is Jamal Adams' former head coach Todd Bowles is now the defensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And last year, he did a phenomenal job with his very, very young secondary, and the front seven is arguably one of the better front sevens in the entire NFL. So for Jamal Adams to come back, join his former head coach, who he loves a lot, he loves himself some Todd Bowles, and you can just tell after Todd Bowles left the New York Jets, it seems like Jamal Adams really hasn't necessarily been very happy with the New York Jets. So Jamal Adams coming to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, joining his former head coach, would just be a match made in heaven, essentially. We have seen multiple guys joining the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because they have been interested in playing for Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles just has that kind of effect. It's honestly a pretty cool thing to see. That's why Ndamukong Suh wanted to come to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers so badly, was because he was interested in playing with Todd Bowles. And to be honest, that was a good decision for Ndamukong Suh because you could say he was part of one of the better front 7 units in the entire NFL. That's just how it is. So it does make sense that, especially a former first-round draft pick of Todd Bowles would be interested in coming in and playing for his former head coach once again. The third reason that a lot of people feel that trading for Jamal Adams could make a little bit of sense is he only has 2 years left on his deal. And I know people are going to freak out and say, wait a minute, that's a bad thing. But not necessarily if you're in win now mode. He has 2 years left on his deal, and we will talk about those price numbers a little bit later on in this video, but 2 years left on his deal. It lines up perfectly with Tom Brady's contract, and at the end of the day, once those 2 years are up, you can decide to just say, well, hey, we won a Super Bowl, awesome. Jamal Adams, go get your money, go reset the safety market. We're happy we won a Super Bowl. Now we can reload in a way without having to blow insane amounts of money everywhere. Or you could say, okay, Jamal Adams, this was awesome. We're going to decide to be one of the big stars that we are going to keep on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers moving forward with the future. So welcome aboard, my friend. And honestly, that could be a realistic thing that would happen. Jamal Adams, I believe he is still 24 years old. He still has 2 years left on his rookie deal. And yes, it does line up perfectly with Tom Brady's contract, so you could make a legitimate argument for that as well. And just another point of argument that people want to make, point blank, Jamal Adams is one of the best safeties, if not the best safety in the NFL. Some people do have some slight, knocks and nitpicks to his game, but me personally, for my money, he's got to be at least one of the top 3 safeties in the NFL. He is phenomenal. He can do it all. He can hit like a freaking truck. He can cover. He can tackle. He can do everything. I really do believe that Jamal Adams is at least one of the top 3 safeties in the entire NFL. So just for that reason alone, hey, he wants out of the New York Jets. The Bucs should be interested in one of the best safeties, if not, the best safety in the NFL, as should all the other teams in the NFL. That just kind of makes a lot of sense. And then the last point that a lot of people are going to make, and that is a very reasonable point, I guess I should say, as is all the other points I previously stated, is he would be a phenomenal leader in this secondary. Absolutely phenomenal in terms of the leadership that he would bring. He knows Todd Bowles. He knows Todd Bowles' system. Now, granted, so do the rest of the Buccaneers secondary at this point, but for Jamal Adams to come in and be that vocal leader that he has been with the New York Jets would be very valuable to this secondary. And I'm not knocking anybody. I'm not saying that there aren't leaders in that secondary group, but Jamal Adams just he's a superstar leader, essentially. He's going to come in, he's going to command that secondary room, and he's going to help out every single guy in that secondary group as much as he possibly can. So yeah, there are definitely a lot of very, very good points to be made as to why the Buccaneers should trade, or potentially try to trade, I guess I should say, for Jamal Adams. But now I want to kind of go to the flip side, and I want to talk about the reasons why a trade might not make sense for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. First thing I want to say in terms of the reasons as to why this couldn't be a good idea for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is it's too much money in the now. And we will talk about the money in the future, but as of right now, the Buccaneers do not have enough money to pay Jamal Adams. Right now, the Buccaneers have a little bit over $5 million in cap space. Jamal Adams' 2020 cap hit is $7.1 million. Now, you guys can say, well, that's an easy fix. Just rework some contracts, maybe move a guy or something along those lines, and boom, there you go. You got the money to trade for Jamal Adams. But is it really worth it? I don't know. I mean, you would be completely cleared of cap space. You haven't even signed any of your draft picks yet, by the way. You still have to do that. So not only would you have to clear up enough money to bring in Jamal Adams' contract, but then you would have to clear up even more money to sign all of your draft picks. So really, is it worth clearing up all that money with all of the kind of already expensive contracts that the Buccaneers have floating around right now? And I'm sure there are some things that could be corrected. Maybe you restructure Donovan Smith's contract. Maybe you restructure a guy like Ali Marpet or Ryan Jensen's contracts. Maybe you do those things. But they've already done some pretty decent work in terms of restructuring guys' contracts, not just this offseason, but in past off seasons as well. They just restructured Cameron Brate's contract at the top of the offseason. So really, in terms of just a right now money move, this isn't going to make a lot of sense, at least in terms of just looking at it on paper, because not only do you have to account for Jamal Adams' contract, you also have to account for all of the draft picks that you have not signed yet. So that's a really tough thing to look at. The second reason why this might not be a good idea is because of how much the Buccaneers have already invested in the safety position the past 4 years for this team. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, what are you talking about? I'll explain. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have drafted a lot of safeties. And when I say a lot of safeties, I mean a lot of safeties. Let's just go through some of the guys who are on this roster right now. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers drafted Justin Evans in 2017. He was a second-round draft pick. They drafted Jordan Whitehead in 2018. He was a fourth-round draft pick. They drafted Mike Edwards in 2019. He was a third-round draft pick. And they drafted Antoine Winfield Jr. in 2020. He was a second-round draft pick. And that's not even including guys who have had some experience playing safety, like MJ Stewart and like Ryan Smith. I'm just not deciding to count those guys because they have moved back to the cornerback position since they have made that move to the safety position. So the point I'm trying to make is in 4 years, the Buccaneers have spent 4 draft picks, one each and every year, on a safety. So yeah, they're investing pretty heavily in the secondary group already. And that's not accounting for 2 other guys I want to mention here on this list. Dakota Dixon, who Bruce Arians said last year, paraphrasing, but he was basically quoted as saying, yeah, Dakota Dixon probably would have started if he wouldn't have gotten hurt, which blew my mind when I first heard it, but it definitely goes to show the type of confidence that Bruce Arians has in a guy like Dakota Dixon, who was undrafted, but he went out there and played some phenomenal football to the point where he could have been considered to be a starter. And then also you have another guy, Andrew Adams, who's just been a great veteran piece for the Buccaneers safety group. Both the years he's been with the team, I think he has done a very, very awesome job, and I hope he can continue to be productive for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But you have those 6 guys who could make an impact already for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers safety position. And I know some people are going to question the potentials and the overall ceilings of guys like Mike Edwards and Justin Evans, who is currently hurt right now, but I really do think that in both those cases, we just have to give those guys time. I think Mike Edwards honestly didn't have a bad rookie year. I think he was overall pretty decent job at his position, and Justin Evans, when he was healthy before he got hurt, he was phenomenal, and everybody felt very confident in that safety group when it was Justin Evans and Jordan Whitehead, and people forget that. People forget how comfortable they were with Justin Evans as one of the starting safeties. They thought he did great. I thought he did great. The big thing with him right now is just, can he stay healthy? So the point I'm trying to make is the Buccaneers already have a ton of guys invested at the safety position, both in free agency, undrafted guys, and just overall draft picks as well. The next thing I want to talk about is Jamal Adams' overall price tag. Now, we have no idea what the Jets' price tag is going to be for a guy like Jamal Adams. It's safe to assume right now, it's been reported, I believe, that Jamal Adams, or I guess I should say the New York Jets, aren't really superly interested in trading a guy like Jamal Adams, so you would have to figure the price tag would have to be pretty darn high for them to consider any type of move involving him. So yeah, do we really want to risk, or I guess not even risk, but do we really want to give up more draft picks to acquire a guy like Jamal Adams? And I talked about the win now argument earlier in this video, but you do reach a point where you could end up like potentially the Los Angeles Rams, where they gave away so many draft picks and they paid guys so much money, and now they're starting to really pay for it, to the point where guys that they'd given first round draft picks up for in the past, and guys who are former really high tiered first round draft picks for the Los Angeles Rams, who they paid out big money for, they're no longer a part of the team. Ndamukong Suh, he's with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. Todd Gurley, he's now a part of the Atlanta Falcons. Brandon Cooks, he just got traded as well. So the point I'm trying to make is you begin to over-invest in win-now positions, okay? And you get to a point where, hey, wow, if this does not work right now, we're really going to be screwed. And it almost worked out for the Los Angeles Rams. I still think they're a pretty decent team overall, but I do think that, man, they have taken a hit since they played the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. They went from playing in the Super Bowl to the very next season not even making the playoffs. So I think while you could make that argument of being in a win-now type of situation, you do have to consider, well, we still want to have some type of future. And I do know that people made the same argument whenever they signed Tom Brady and said, what the heck, we're giving all this up. That's not the same as trading. Signing Tom Brady is one thing over a guy like Jameis Winston, but trading away draft assets to get a guy, that's an entirely different situation in my opinion. It was a little bit different with Rob Gronkowski, they only gave up a 4th rounder, but let's say the price tag's at least a 1st rounder. I think that is a safe assumption that a 1st rounder would probably get the conversation started. Maybe you could negotiate down to maybe a 2nd rounder and some other stuff, but would you guys really be willing to give up a 1st or 2nd rounder next draft for Jamal Adams for 2 years? That's a tough call for me, because you're going to have to reach a point where, okay, wow, we had a great season, let's reload. You need draft picks to reload, so you can't give up all these draft picks just willy-nilly just for maybe 1 or 2 years. Again, like I said, it's different for free agent signings, signing guys for free for no money, but, well, not for no money, but signing guys in free agency is different than trading away draft assets and other assets to acquire players who are on shorter deals as well. So yeah, that's just definitely something to consider. The last thing I want to mention, and I did allude to it earlier in the video, the too much money in the now, and now I want to talk about too much money in the future. Jamal Adams is going to reset the safety market. That is very, very, very safe to say. He is going to be making so much freaking money. It's going to be stupid. His cap hit rather for 2021 is $9.8 million. These are the players who are going to be free agents for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2021. So after this upcoming season is done, the Buccaneers have the job of re-signing these guys potentially. Shaq Barrett, Lavonte David, Rob Gronkowski, Ndamukong Suh, and Chris Godwin. Those 5 guys' contracts are running out after this upcoming season is over. Now, if you add Jamal Adams to that re-signing list, that is going to create a world of financial problems for this team. I already don't think you can re-sign these 5 guys because they're going to command some serious money. Now, we'll see what happens with Rob Gronkowski and Ndamukong Suh. Maybe they decide to retire. Who knows? We'll have to keep an eye on that. But I think you definitely have to re-sign Shaq Barrett to a long-term deal, which hopefully they will get done this offseason. We still have, I believe, until July 15th for them to get a deal done. You've definitely got to try and re-sign Chris Godwin, and you've definitely got to try and re-sign Lavonte David as well. Those guys are cornerstone pieces for this team for the next, I want to say 4, maybe 5 years, and Lavonte David probably not for 5 years, but definitely Chris Godwin and Shaq Barrett. When you incorporate a contract that is going to cost as much money as Jamal Adams, you are very much making it possible and more likely probable that you aren't going to be able to re-sign one or more of those guys that I mentioned. Those 3 guys, Shaq Barrett, Chris Godwin, and Lavonte David. And that's not necessarily worth it to me right now. I really think that Shaq Barrett's going to be a phenomenal pass rusher. I really believe that Chris Godwin's going to be one of the better wide receivers in the NFL, and I really do believe that Lavonte David is still, and is going to continue to be until he retires, one of the best linebackers in the NFL. So when you think about, Jamal Adams and his contract, and how much money he's going to cost for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' future, you basically have to think in your mind, okay, is Jamal Adams worth sacrificing one of these guys for and letting them go to a different team in free agency? And right now, call it recency bias, whatever you want to call it, but for me, it's just not worth it in terms of not being able to re-sign one of those guys. So guys, ultimately, what do I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should do for trading or not trading for Jamal Adams? And guys, I will say this. I would love the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to trade for Jamal Adams. I think it would be absolutely amazing. I would love it 100%. Keep it going, baby. Let's keep the win now mode going. I would have an absolute blast with it. It would be a lot of fun. But I don't think logistically it makes a lot of sense. It does make sense in terms of, yes, Todd Bowles is the former head coach of Jamal Adams, and he would be phenomenal for this team. He would be so good, and this defense would get taken up to even greater heights than it was already looking during the second half of last season. But I think, simply put, the money would not work for the now, and it would not work for the future either. You still have to create some room to sign these draft picks, which you have not done yet, and you also have to re-sign a lot of cornerstone franchise pieces in the very, very immediate future, as well as considering re-signing Jamal Adams if you were to trade for him. So ultimately, that combination of price tags as well as just giving up more draft assets, very expensive draft assets as that, I don't think it's going to be worth it. I think it's going to be a little bit too much draft capital. He would be worth it, but I don't think the Buccaneers can afford to give up too much draft capital right now. They don't have a lot of extra picks to send out there, and I think in terms of the money, it would hurt the Buccaneers now in terms of signing players, and it would definitely hurt the Buccaneers next year in terms of re-signing players, and it would probably result in the Buccaneers losing one of their very key cornerstone franchise pieces. So yeah, guys, that's my thoughts on it. I could very well see an argument to be made in terms of trading for Jamal Adams, but me personally, while I would love it, it's just not very realistically possible in terms of draft capital, assets going away to the Jets, as well as monetary value in re-signing him in the future. So yeah, guys, that's my thoughts on it. Let me know what you think about all of this down in the comment section below. Do you think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should or should not trade for Jamal Adams? And guys, leave me any suggestions for any players you think the Buccaneers should trade or sign for down in the comment section below. I want some suggestions. I want some video ideas out there. So please, please, please help me out and leave some of your suggestions down in the comment section below. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope y'all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.